Chapter 5. Everyday Courage. The 5-second rule allows people the courage to do the hard things that happen daily: get out of bed, speak to your boss, pick up the telephone, or step on a scale. Everyday life is filled with scary, unexpected, and hard occurrences. The strength to stand up to these times and release the potential, enchantment, and enjoyment that awaits you in your lives is untold. Courage is exactly what the 5-second rule gives the receiver. The 5-second realm is a kind of self-expression known as the 5-second realm for self-discipline and acceptance. It was coined by author Mark Twain and since then has become a renowned rallying cry in the USA and across the world. The 5-second rule has been used since it was originally established in the 1970s in more than 50 countries worldwide. The treaty has been ratified by more than 100 countries. Since the early 80s, Mark Twain, professor at California University, San Francisco, has referred to him as a courageous rule. The rule itself is also mentioned in the book The Second Rule: How to Be the World's Hardest Culprit, as a handbook on being the world's harshest criminal, authored by Mark Twain and published by Penguin Books. Gabe used the 5-second rule for changing his life by setting up his own company for virtual reality because of his use of the rule. Whenever he wants to leave, he does that. When he returns to one of those desires, he uses the rule to help him cope with his reliance. According to Gabe, "I've been totally responsible for everything in my life. It was hard for me to look into the eyes and face the fact that my life and career were in horrible shape," he says. Rosa Parks was the first person to inspire her, since during the civil rights movement, she refused to give up her bus seat to a white passenger car. The first person to inspire him was Rosa Parks. In his article, "The more people talked of the word courage, the more I began to question if there was something to understand the nature of courage itself, about one of the most important acts of audacity in history." According to him, there are 5 options inside every option that have the power to transform everything in our lives. Adopting new technologies for your business or entering your door and tackling your problems head-on rather than drinking a drink in front of the TV may both be helpful. The book says Rosa Parks refused to abandon her bus seat when white passengers asked her to do so. She stated she thought she had a legal right to stay on the bus seat she had previously occupied. In an interview after her imprisonment, she stated that if she didn't give up, the bus driver threatened to phone the police. "I felt like I wasn't treated correctly," stated Parks in her own words. "I simply came to the point where I was pushed as far as I was able, I believe." She claimed in a radio interview immediately after the occurrence, "I thought I was dealt decently." His act of courage informs us all that it is not the major deeds that transform things, but the little actions you do in your everyday lives, says the author. She didn't want to do what she did that night. It was just another night, like every other night, according to the author. According to him, this was just another night like any other until the course of history was changed by one decision. "What I found was amazing." What she said is, to say the least, unusual. Robin Savalos is a Los Angeles-based author. What motivated her to make that choice, can you say? On 5 December 1955, a further 5-second decision was made in Montgomery, Alabama, which would permanently change the path of history. She didn't pause or think about herself when Rosa Parks made her choice, she followed her intuition. It is a period when your beliefs, goals, and actions are all synchronized, and you go so rapidly you have no time or reason to halt. Instead of worrying about what your heart tells you, you just hear what your heart tells you to do. The Montgomery Improvement Association was set up because of Mrs. Parks' 5-second decision to choose Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to lead the 381-day-old black preacher. Dr. King thinks he would not have accepted the candidacy if he had the chance. However, Parks feels he would accept the nomination no matter if he had the chance. In this scenario, the example shows that we are more than able to act out of nature when the circumstances require it, and our emotions urge us to stop and do something that we don't necessarily feel should be done. Courage is within all of us, and anytime you want, you may utilize it. In this case, a lack of trust, expertise, education, or a profession is not considered. You don't have to have all the answers. All you have to do now is choose within the next 5 seconds. Courage is a Birthright is a song composed by U2's John Lennon with M83 lyrics and Queen, Whitney Houston, and Arcade Fire samples. It was released as a single in 2008. Courage will be played on the radio on Saturday, 9 June at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Sopranos will broadcast at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Sundays, while Life in the Nutshell on the same day will broadcast at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Jay O'Brien continues to operate on the ABC network until Thursday, 14 June on a weekly basis. Culture is the theme of the news quiz this week, which contains questions, answers, and the chance to win the greatest articles you didn't realize you were qualified to win. It's a weekly, strange look at stories that make us think about the themes that we're currently thinking about. This week's edition of Jarrett Bellini's podcast features a parent who can't stop thinking about a friend whose child died after an automobile accident. These are actual stories and are just a tip of the iceberg. They call attention to the contradiction between our desire to improve our lives and our fear of it. After all, courage is just a shove away, as Bellini points out. He argues that the distinction is between focusing on the solution rather than on the problem and concentrating on a problem instead of a solution. I can make sure that you will alter something equally, too. When you push yourself, you will alter yourself. You can't transform the world, laws, or create a movement for civil rights, but I can guarantee you're going to change something equally. You're going to be altered, he writes. This week's This Is Life episode will be on the air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Sundays at ABC. The final episode of This Is Life may now be seen online.